1500 Ways to Escape the Human Jungle, Part 2. Chapter 6. How to Avoid Traps in the Human Jungle. A perplexed inquirer complained to a wise man, "I am at the mercy of every unexpected event and involvement. What can I do?" The wise man explained, "Involve yourself with inner command, and all other involvements will come under your command." A mind operating with cosmic command is never at the mercy of anyone or anything. You can see why. Cosmic vision sees things as they are, and therefore can never be deceived or exploited. Do you know author Schopenhauer? He was a German philosopher with the eye of a hawk and a pen like a sword. He knew more about human nature than a convention of psychiatrists. Listen to his blunt advice for avoiding human traps. You will see that, in dealing with fools and blockheads, there is only one way of showing your intelligence, by having nothing to do with them. That means, of course, that when you go into society, you may now and then feel like a good dancer who gets an invitation to a ball, and on arriving, finds that everyone is lame. With whom is he to dance? Cynical statements? Maybe. Accurate observations? Certainly. We can rise above cynicism, for to be cynical is to be still chained to the follies of other people. It is quite possible to see people as they are, without shaking with self-reference. Where the uncompromising author Schopenhauer stops, the following points take over. How to avoid traps in the human jungle. 501. The question is, who will protect you from the people who are supposed to protect you? 502. The only person who can help you escape is one who has himself escaped, so think deeply about this. 503. Departing from our usual ideas is as refreshing as leaving a familiar but noisy big city. 504. Trying to do good without knowing the nature of real goodness creates resentment and weariness. 505. Those who have escaped the human jungle realize how little they could be told at one time. 506. Ignorant people remain ignorant because they have a secret agreement to call each other intelligent. 507. To win real rewards, we must firmly decline the deceptive rewards offered by society. 508. The gullible believe that a hawk is a dove, and then wonder why they get hurt. 509. Falsehood has thousands of dangerous notions, while truth has but one answer, which is, find your real self. 510. As long as a person imagines he knows what he is doing with himself, he does not know. 511. When really seeing what it means to hurt ourselves, we no longer do it. 512. Lost people try to impose a sense of guilt upon others, but sane people refuse it. 513. When we see the real reason for doing something, we end our slavery toward the invented reason. 514. The truly healthy man, having power over himself, has no craving to dominate others. 515. The desire to have power over others places one under the power of others. 516. Tricky thoughts can deceive us into thinking we know what is best for us, so see through these harmful ideas. 517. False strength can be recognized by the way it trembles when our small and self-centered world is threatened. 518. Misfortunes happen to us, which need not happen, and these teachings reveal the escape. 519. If clawed by human tigers, it is simply because we unnecessarily inhabit the psychic jungle. 520. Gullibility consists of not seeing people as they really are until they have taken all they can from you. A helpful question. 521. When someone insists upon arguing, ask them, why do you feel it necessary to have an enemy? 522. Preventing anyone from learning from their own mistakes is a great mistake. 523. If you want a welcome having no hidden traps, accept the honest welcome of these teachings. 524. If we can mix water with fire, we can also mix truthful ideas with foolish notions. 525. A major aim is to stop the invented personality from masquerading as the real person. 526. If we get into trouble, we can be sure it was caused by the invented personality. 527. Remind yourself 1,000 times that a cruel man who says he is sorry has not changed his nature. 528. Wars will not stop as long as people pretend that war is something apart from their own warring natures. 529. We reject the true and accept the false because we imagine we already know the difference between them. 530. Curiously, we believe that we need the harmful, but the instructive light brings release and relief. 531. If you have been left out of society's excitement, be glad, for now you will not have to pay the penalty. 532. Human authority consists of men lost in the storm who assume solemn facial expressions and tell others how to escape the storm. 533. Hoping for something good to come is a necessary self-torment, for all goodness is now available to your perception. 534. One thing that discourages anxiety from attacking is your calm refusal to fear it. 535. Self-betrayal is exactly the same thing as consenting to betrayal by other people. 536. Allowing emotions to swamp the mind is like pouring molasses on a needed road map. 537. Most people who say they trust God are usually trusting their acquired ideas about God. 538. Only the surfaced mind feels lost and lonely, which is sufficient reason for rising above it. 539. Be aware of how human nature declares, I want the glory, but you do the work. 540. When habitual thinking talks about love, it has no love at all, for habitual thinking conceals cunning self-interest. Your cosmic college. 541. Let others continue to be busy doing nothing, while you wisely attend cosmic college. 542. One self-liberating insight is to see that people can behave no higher than their own cosmic level. 543. If you can come to a teacher on your own terms, you are not meeting a real teacher. 544. Try to see that thinking we understand a certain thing is not at all the same as actually understanding it. 545. Just as a shadow is the result of blocked light, human darkness is caused by blocked cosmic sunshine. 546. We must never forget that wrong ideas about life and boredom always go together. 547. Let other people tell you what they want, and they will end up telling you what they want. 548. When seeking, take care to not simply switch from one wrong trail to another. 549. Untrue ideas are like enemy soldiers disguised as friends, who subtly work at the downfall of the psychic fortress. 550. If you feel that life is hostile toward you, and you study these ideas, the hostility will vanish. 551. A refusal to see what is truly good for us separates us from what is truly good for us. 552. It sounds too simple to say that lack of self-insight causes our griefs, but that is the plain fact. 553. Rescue is available to all who listen, but how many people do you know who want to listen? 554. What deluded society insists is right for you is precisely what is wrong for you. 555. When anyone tells you how to live your life, quietly observe what the advice has done for the advisor. 556. Assume that people will tell you what they know you want to hear, and you will seldom be wrong. 557. False teachings allow you to remain as you are while letting you imagine you have changed. 558. Asking for help, but secretly wanting your own way, is like buying a lantern, but refusing to light it. 559. Truth never enters a room filled with people whose chief talent is to chatter about social service. 560. Weak people who drag you down will always claim to be strong people trying to lift you up. An authentic class. 561. One value of an authentic class is what you are not given. For example, you are not given nonsense masquerading as help. 562. We attract negative people and events because we wrongly and unconsciously value them. 563. Refuse to play the roles that people try to cast you in, for their benefit. 564. Do not discuss these celestial inspirations with those whose great aim in life is to win power or popularity. 565. Never eagerly pounce on an event in order to feel a thrill. Instead, calmly gain insight into the event. 566. If your search is very diligent, you will one day meet a teacher who will not deceive you. 567. Hostility sent outward toward another person returns instantly to injure the sender. 568. A man is punished only by the level he occupies, as when deceit deceives the deceitful. 569. What is called worship or meditation is often nothing but an evasion of personal responsibility for self-awakening. 570. When someone declares he wants to serve you, try to see where he wants power to bully you. 571. Today, try to see just one human invitation that is really a cunning trap. 572. If social or religious organizations can drink water for you, they can also save you. 573. It takes no courage to cling to acquired beliefs, but takes real courage to abandon them. 574. To the exact degree that we tolerate our own nonsense, we must suffer from the nonsense of others. 575. When seeing a distressed person, never forget that you may be his next target. 576. Those who gain a false identity out of hoaxing and hurting you are no friends of yours. 577. Everyone who refuses truth and decency will always lie about the reasons for his refusal. 578. You can end half your troubles immediately by no longer permitting people to tell you what you want. 579. Realize that feeling helpless and deserted is a false feeling, never your real condition. 580. People unwisely prefer society's syrup, which explains why they are not cured by cosmic medicine. Follow your higher law. 581. Follow the higher law within, which knows what is right, and it will lead you out of the jungle. 582. When knowing what is right for your life, you are not burdened with false concern over the life of others. 583. When permitting other people to think for us, we cannot complain if they think us into disaster. 584. A foremost cause of conflict and confusion is the attempt to behave the way society insists you should behave. 585. You should behave in any way that leads to independent command of your own life. 586. There is no way to seek the rewards offered by an unwell society without also seeking its punishments. 587. Let resistance before truth collapse, and you will never again collapse before life. 588. When someone tells you he knows the truth, you should watch his face carefully when his claim is rejected. 589. As fear fades through insight into our real nature, we cease to attract fearful things. 590. Wisely explain your own behavior to yourself, and you are free of anyone who demands that you explain yourself. 591. Entertainment disguised as spiritual instruction keeps many in the human jungle. 592. When a man proudly tells you the kind of person he is telling you the kind of person he is not. 593. Think often of the fact that no man or woman is what he or she appears to be. 594. If people are unable to behave properly in your company, do not give them your company. 595. Detect the private thoughts of anyone who says he wants to help you, then see whether you still want his help. 596. Realize that surface personality has no interest in anything which might disturb its darling delusions. 597. Sufferers wrongly think they will feel empty without their pain, and so resist reality's offered cure. 598. If other people tell you what to do, it is only because you have not as yet told yourself what to do. 599. The sheep is lost only because of failure to turn in the direction of the shepherd. 600. If you want a way of life having no hidden traps, it exists within your own real nature. Chapter 7. Save years of search with these facts. A famous philosopher was asked by his students, "Why do we behave as we do?" Holding up a clock, the teacher explained, "It's like the inner workings of this clock. Understand its hidden parts, and you'll see why its exterior parts move as they do." The lesson is this: self-knowledge is the great power by which we comprehend and control our lives, and the power by which we save years of weary searching. Here are typical stages in an individual's progress toward the light. 1. At first, he is indifferent toward the truth, for his exciting daily activities keep him distracted from his anxiety. 2. A dawning awareness of his suffering causes him to seek help. 3. He is bewildered and agitated by the great number of organizations which claim to know the answers. 4. He falls into their trapping follies for a period of time, for he does not know what else to do. 5. Courageously realizing that they have nothing real to give him, he begins to search within and to think for himself. 6. His developing consciousness leads him to authentic teachings, perhaps in books or at lectures. 7. He finally reaches a preliminary stage where his own nature becomes his own light, after which he spends his days brightening that light. The following 100 principles were designed for your swift progress toward the light. Save years of search with these facts. 601. Sex, like every other human feature, comes under command as these teachings are absorbed. 602. A rescuing idea is one that disagrees with your habitual nature, but which agrees with truth. 603. Challenging one wrong assumption is a more heroic deed than the conquest. 604. Clear your mind of unnecessary thoughts, and in that new clearness and power, you will be astonished at the great number of unnecessary thoughts you once believed were necessary. 605. Learn to love new and strange and unfamiliar conditions which force you to explore and discover. 606. What blocks our ascent to the next higher level is the assumption that we are already up there. 607. What we imagine is our power is not power at all, while what we cannot imagine, truth, is our actual power. 608. You are not required to sacrifice anything but imaginations masquerading as realities. 609. One value of self-observation and self-knowledge is to see who you are not. 610. Discover who you are not, and you are not someone who has to prove who you are. 611. A great surprise and victory in life is to see we were mechanical while calling it conscious behavior. 612. We can be sure we are in dreamland when we resent anything that tries to wake us up. 613. Encourage the awakening of the one part of you that suspects it is dreaming instead of living. 614. See human nonsense as nonsense and save years of trying to make sense of it. 615. There is no way to drop harmful nonsense as long as vanity calls it wisdom. 616. The question is, how can we see that we do not really know what we pretend and insist we know? 617. Anyone who sees he is merely playing the role of self-command has a chance to really command. 618. What happens inside you, not outside, is what needs attention and examination. 619. Change the inner and you change the outer, for the inner and outer are the same. 620. It is a true miracle when a man finally sees himself as his only opposition. How to brighten tomorrow. 621. The guaranteed way to do better tomorrow is to do everything today consciously. 622. Hurt feelings are simply a device of reality to inform us we are not listening to its wisdom. 623. No one can be helped until he listens to something higher than himself, and no one listens until seeing the need to listen. 624. Playing with words about the spiritual life is not the same as bravely exploring one's inner nature, which alone can build a spiritual life. 625. There is no way to break the chain of troubles without taking personal responsibility for them. 626. Do not try to understand life with your usual kinds of thoughts, and you will increase understanding. 627. Seeing our helplessness is just as fine, as long as it means to see the uselessness of our usual ways. 628. Self-investigation is the method by which we free ourselves of unconscious self-centeredness. 629. When understanding another person's problem, you help him correctly, even though there is nothing you can do about it. 630. The wise seeker uses discouragement as a signal to seek all the harder. 631. Trying to convince ourselves that we are right prevents higher facts from making us right. 632. The only right start toward an understanding of human nature is an admission of a lack of present understanding. 633. A sour apple tree deceives only those who admire the blossoms without tasting the fruit. 634. By seeing human evil seriously in the right way, we will finally not take it seriously at all. 635. Seeing evil in the right way is to see it has no power except as we wrongly credit it with power. 636. We cease to credit power to evil by seeing that its petty packages are empty. 637. When really knowing who you are, you will finally know the answer to the question, what is truth? 638. A person radiates what he really is, not what he imagines he is, and attracts what he radiates. 639. Drop your despair over finding the answers to life, and you will find them. 640. Really know what you are like, and you will really know what others are like. Suffering is a gigantic hoax. 641. Try to see that suffering is a gigantic hoax which cosmic facts can expose. 642. The certain remedy for dull and repetitious days is to live from these esoteric wisdoms. 643. Right answers come when we ask our questions with right attitudes, such as a yearning to know. 644. A man who possesses real gold never bargains over it, which means that truth never compromises with dark human nature. 645. Light never battles darkness, so whenever you see a fight, it is always between two dark forces. 646. Take disturbance as an awakening sign that you misunderstand something you assumed you understood. 647. The reason we should abandon falsehood is simply because it is so dangerous to us. 648. A man can insist all day long that his leaky boat is solid, but he will still sink. 649. Unhappiness persists because of the refusal to risk the ruin of the familiar but false ideas. 650. Spiritual studies proceed properly only when including the touchy topic of human hypocrisy. 651. You will not fumble in vain if you fumble in the task of finding your real nature. 652. Regrets at losing social or financial opportunities are both delusion and needless pain. 653. We can be practical and economical in everyday things only by living from higher facts. 654. A secret and cunning fondness for sad circumstances will surely keep them around. 655. Any wish to appear scholarly in the eyes of the public will immediately cut off our opportunity to be sensible. 656. Pretense is never able to admit it is pretense, so an honest part of us must go to work. 657. Chaos persists only because we insist upon living with personal beliefs instead of with cosmic insight. 658. Notice that some of these ideas impress the mind with health, while others impress the emotions. 659. The one way to have something worthwhile to do with your life is to courageously see that you presently have nothing worthwhile. 660. The truly valuable can be defined as that which does not contribute to our false need for ego gratification. Walk with lightness. 661. We walk with new lightness when finally seeing that it is not necessary to pretend to know. 662. Doing good to someone in order to reduce self-guilt will only ruin things for both of you. 663. Truth prevails in those who were once shocked at seeing they knew nothing about truth. 664. We started the upward path by seeing deeply that our earlier actions were not starts, but evasions. 665. The intimidating tricks someone plays on you are the same tricks he most fears might be played on him. 666. To be afraid of a hostile person makes as much sense as fearing an angry ape in the zoo. 667. We find the light only after total defeat of our attempts to deceive and outwit it. 668. The quality of human life is raised each time an individual reflects, maybe I am the problem. 669. The man who really sees his mistake today does not repeat it tomorrow. 670. The stronger the truth given to anyone, the stronger will be his positive or negative reaction. 671. Just as weeds absorb water needed by flowers, we waste psychic energy needed for cosmic blossoming. 672. Reclaim your psychic energy by not resisting the vital powers which want to make everything right. 673. If you wish to know the truth, you must dare the displeasure of false teachers. 674. Really see the lessons in unhappy experiences and watch how experiences become pleasant. 675. Your wish to escape society's confusion is good, so start by studying your own confusion. 676. Any avoidance of personal darkness, no matter how noble it appears, is an avoidance of light. 677. Trash can be made to look like treasure, but it can never be made to feel like treasure. 678. A good memory of religious ideas is not the same as a good inner nature, but many think so. 679. Hearing these ideas without acting upon them is like buying an airplane, but leaving it on the ground. 680. You get something real from an event when there is no tense thought about getting or not getting something. Help wishes to reach you. 681. Celestial inspirations are always descending, but our thick attitudes prevent them from reaching the spirit. 682. A sincere question is one in which the answer is more important than the small thrill of asking the question. 683. All attempts to solve the outer problem will fail until we first succeed in solving the inner problem. 684. The only person responsible for a wanderer is the wanderer himself. 685. The truly spiritual person has no need to appear religious before other people. 686. Do you think that tense defense can ever be part of someone who really knows? 687. Unconscious resistance to the rescuing truth must be made conscious, and the best time to do it is now. 688. If your search for help draws you to a group where you remain comfortable, you are in the wrong place. 689. If you cannot change life into what you want, you can always change yourself into what you want. 690. If life does not taste right, it is simply because we are still dining on familiar but wrong ideas. 691. Only wholeness can see the difference between wholeness and abnormality. 692. Neurotic guilt must be understood and ended, otherwise individual and mass destruction will continue. 693. Feelings of release, small and then larger, accompany your welcome of truthful ideas. 694. With a cosmic conscience, we see that anything done against others is also done against ourselves. 695. Everyone yearns to live his own life, but how many will change his thinking to attain it? 696. Be on guard against destructive attitudes, which insist they have come to protect you. 697. There is a part within every human being in which time is absent, in which hours and days and years have no meaning. 698. Imaginary happiness must be kept in place by tense struggles, while real happiness stays in place all by itself. 699. Anyone who has forgotten who he is and what he should be doing can take right interaction to remember. 700. As you study and act, remember that the whole idea is to reveal yourself to yourself. Chapter 8. How to attract higher help quickly. In the days of sailing ships, a vessel left Tahiti with the intended destination of San Francisco. A sudden storm wrecked the ship and left the crew on a deserted island. The seamen had but one way to attract help. Hiking to the nearest crest, they prepared a bonfire. On the 5th night, a passing ship sighted the fire and rescued the sailors. A sincere request for life rescue is an accurate and an intelligent action. It will be answered by a higher power whose purpose is rescue. The bonfire was not prepared or lighted by the rescuing ship. This was the task of the stranded sailors. By doing their part, they established contact with what they needed. Contact. That is the magic word. Any earnest man or woman can start making contact with higher help by developing right thoughts. One right thought is a willingness to abandon familiar and fixed beliefs. Changing ourselves, instead of trying to change the world, is another. Perhaps you see a fascinating feature in all this. You are really trying to make contact with yourself, with who you really are. Call it the kingdom of heaven within. Call it your real self. Call it cosmic consciousness. It is the same certain deliverance. The teachings of this chapter will help you make permanent contact with your own rescue ship. How to attract higher help quickly. 701. The point is to change your relationship with yourself and with the world by changing your relationship with truth. 702. The power that attracts higher answers is the admission of not presently having them. 703. If you want the truly inspirational, you need only seek out the truly factual. 704. The seeker finally finds when his habitual values yield to something much higher. 705. It is not your part to create the new world, but to permit it to reveal itself. 706. As long as the usual nature judges between right and wrong, it will be wrong. 707. Your recovered essence easily makes right decisions because it has no false self to protect. 708. Intelligence consists of using all the available aids for escape, such as seeing the need for it. 709. Truth gazes down upon wandering humanity and thinks, if only they would pause long enough to listen. 710. Turning to God, truth, reality, simply means to let it go, even fearfully at first, of our self-centered ideas. 711. A new kind of mind comes into existence by seeing clearly the limitations of the usual mind. 7:12. The best time to permit higher facts to help you is when you cannot see how they can do so. 7:13. A sincere wish for help activates fresh intelligence for finding higher help. 7:14. Truth never speaks to surface personality, but only to the interior essence of a man or woman. 7:15. Stop telling yourself who you are, for then a higher voice will make everything clear. 7:16. Descending into unknown regions in yourself is the same as making the upward journey. 7:17. An earnest attempt to understand higher facts is a success in itself, regardless of the results of the attempt. 7:18. The individual who really wants to give himself over to higher guidance will receive it. 7:19. You are accepted by truth the same moment you accept truth, even in a small way at first. 7:20. Whether aware of it or not, you have a permanent invitation from truth, so be aware of it. How self-newness arrives. 7:21. Self-newness comes by turning back to the cosmic home within, and turning back a dozen times a day. 7:22. If you cannot take it anymore, now is the time to turn toward higher powers, which can take anything. 7:23. Anyone who has placed himself beyond the reach of higher help can start today to place himself within reach. 7:24. The ability to follow major instructions is developed by devotion to small instructions. 7:25. Devote yourself to the instruction, let a love of rightness succeed where your usual efforts fail. 7:26. Regardless of how you presently feel about it, there is an available answer to every baffling question. 7:27. You can rise to a higher level of consciousness by seeing how the lower level hurts you. 7:28. Real solutions are discovered only where they actually exist, within the individual's own essence. 7:29. Acquire spiritual knowledge and then use it to go on to the supreme act of self-transcendence. 7:30. Life-giving sincerity consists of an earnest attempt to hear something higher than ourselves. 7:31. Heavenly guidance for earthly affairs is quite possible, providing we live from the kingdom of heaven within. 7:32. If sensing a real source of help, within or without, let nothing stop you from reaching it. 7:33. There is a level of teaching much higher than words, heard only by those who know more than words. 7:34. Take a new internal direction, and it will be as real to you as traveling down in a new highway. 7:35. Keep the inner task clear and simple by remembering, there is something wrong which I can correct. 7:36. Truth awaits patiently for us to see that we must approach on its terms, not our own. 7:37. Let feelings of helplessness fall on a wish for higher strength, not on despair. 7:38. By listening to this book, you are impressing yourself with the fact of a greater good for yourself. 7:39. To qualify for the cosmic college, we need only realize how little we know about life. 7:40. One thing that truth appreciates from you is your enthusiasm in seeking it out. Here, celestial inspirations. 7:41. A willingness to learn will develop our talent for hearing celestial inspirations when they try to reach us. 7:42. The presence of an enlightened person can remind you that the answer exists, but go from reminding to possession. 7:43. If you feel that real and practical wisdom is too high for you, just remember that real wisdom is a permanent feature of your true inner nature. 7:44. Self-wholeness is won by no longer following the ideas that have produced a lack of it. 7:45. Never worriedly ask what will replace wrong ideas, but know that the replacement will always be right for you. 746. Permit the powers of your essence to break down the walls of separation, and they will do so. 747. To know nothing but the invented self is to know nothing but sadness, so turn toward the celestial self. 748. Only one power can break the repetitious circle of one's life, and you are now studying that unique power. 749. Simply realize that you can stand aside and observe your thoughts instead of being carried away by them. 750. Give yourself permission to receive your real benefits, and you will receive them. 751. Coming to an end of yourself means to realize the folly of using old ideas to create a new nature. 752. The moment you stop fighting to retain your habitual notions is the same moment you feel higher help. 753. The power that called you to these lofty lessons will also help you understand them. 754. Admit your inability to take care of yourself, for that invites reality to take care of you in its right way. 755. Only the higher part of you has an interest in and has a response to cosmic teachings. 756. Help is available whether we are aware of it or not, but awareness makes it accessible. 757. Right ideas connect you with higher help, and more right ideas strengthen that connection. 758. We need only look at our negative states and ask, can these have anything good for me? 759. It is easy to declare that one wants help, but quite another matter to really welcome it. 760. A crisis is used rightly when it turns you toward self-examination and self-insight. Your secret book. 761. There is within you a secret book that knows 1,000 times more than all the scholars and authorities on earth. 762. Sincerely desire to search, and the instrument for a right search will be supplied. 763. Truth is seen with the development of spiritual eyesight, which is not the same as ordinary thinking. 764. Seeing that the problem is really within oneself is a healthy drink of the healing medicine. 765. Cosmic hearing consists of the ability to hear and follow the teachings of your own higher centers. 766. We must see that the pressures of life are caused by personal misunderstanding, which the welcomed light can correct. 767. Truth alone can heal the life, but the individual alone must ask for it. 768. Life is solved by seeing it without self-reference, which is the celestial view. 769. An awareness of neglect of spiritual necessities is a power in itself for attracting those necessities. 770. We are lonely only because of absence from our cosmic home. So what is the sure cure for loneliness? 771. Let the higher part call the lower part back from its wandering in the wilderness. 772. Authentic knowledge of yourself and knowledge of God, truth, reality, are the same thing. 773. Your essence can be sensible for you when you cannot be sensible for yourself, so join your essence. 774. There are sincere and there are insincere cries for help, and knowing the difference, truth responds to only one of them. 775. A proper prayer is simply the noble wish to unite with who you really are. 776. Truth is the only power capable of correcting us 10,000 times without rejecting us once. 777. Open even one small window of your psychic home, and you will feel the result in cosmic sunshine. 778. When asking, where am I thinking wrongly about this problem? You should answer, by trying to use ordinary thought for a success possible only for cosmic consciousness. 779. Remember that the sighting of a new weakness must precede the acquisition of a new strength. 780. True guidance comes to those who have lost confidence in their usual mental maps. Know who you really are. 781. Let the truth shake up your identity as much as it wishes, for it wants only to show you who you really are. 782. You are really one note in the cosmic music, harmonizing with other notes to form a grand symphony. 783. Anyone can save himself by ceasing to believe that stubborn self-will is protective self-loyalty. 784. A persistent refusal to believe in your own captivity will release you. 785. A silent glance from a real teacher helps a student, for the student senses the teacher's commanding brightness. 786. Proceed from the human view to cosmic vision, and the obscure will become clear. 787. Forcefully decline to go along with wrong ways, and the right ways will reveal themselves. 788. There is a part in everyone which is not his usual nature, and by this he is saved. 789. The inner instructor is always trying to be heard above our noisy minds, so give it a chance. 790. An innocent spirit on the path easily flies over the walls that block an insincere spirit. 791. Anyone who is his own punishment does not realize it, so awareness can be his great escape. 792. Be willing to accept what is true, and in time, you will know what is true. 793. It is possible to turn a problem over to God, providing you do not secretly demand your solution. 794. When realizing that repetitious thought cannot help us, we are coming closer to real help. 795. The needed light will shine at the exact moment that we stop pretending we already live in it. 796. Do it because it is right, not for the reward, for then the reward will be real. 797. Rightness rushes in to fill the space made possible by first giving up wrongness. 798. The higher lesson in the experience is learned by those who no longer protect their vanity. 799. A right response to a higher truth is to relax and let it tell its whole story. 800. Choose to understand, stick with that choice, and the whole world of truth takes your side. Chapter 9. Why the Human Jungle is Dangerous. Some students of the inner life asked their instructor, "Why does human chaos continue in spite of all efforts at correction?" The teacher replied, "Trying to solve human problems with the same kind of mind that causes them is like asking a destructive tornado to rebuild the town it has just destroyed. The mind capable of curing the human condition is the mind that has risen above its own wrong ideas. How many human beings have risen above their cherished but wrong ideas? How many have even made the slightest effort to do so? Not many. Astonishingly, most people fight fiercely to defend their false notions, the very notions that cause their conflict and misery. It is like an ill man who locks the door when seeing the doctor approach with the healing medicine. That is why the jungle, the human jungle, is dangerous. And that is why you must aim to not live like most people. Where they fight facts, you can welcome them. Where they wish to be impressive, you can wish to be real. Where they cling to self-defeating opinions, you can seek self-enlightening principles. Where they prefer bitterness over the past, you can choose liberty in the now. Let this chapter explain clearly why you should not live like most people. Then you will not cry like most people. Why the Human Jungle is Dangerous. 801. The world consists of imaginary people claiming imaginary virtues and suffering from imaginary happiness. 802. Anyone attributing non-existent virtues to himself will also attribute them to others, which explains human heartache. 803. A man plants weeds instead of flowers because his vanity assumes it knows the difference in the two. 804. All talk about uplifting human conditions without uplifting human nature is pure delusion. 805. People who love the human jungle will make every effort to prevent your escape from it. 806. Because man lives in imagination, he imagines the nature of God, truth, reality, and misses the mark. 807. A jungle mind scoffs at the idea that there is another land beyond the jungle. 808. What a hypocritical society calls concern for other people is simply an obsessive attempt to make a lie appear as a fact. 809. Humanity walks in its sleep, with everyone trying to convince himself and others that he is awake. 810. What happens to a ship when the captain dozes at the wheel while dreaming he is in command? 811. A sure sign that one is living in a state of psychic sleep is his disinterest or disbelief or scorn when told that this is his state. 812. Everyone who is allergic to reality wastes his life trying to prove he is not allergic. 813. For every sane person who sees the folly of fighting, there are 10 million people who claim to see it. 814. A man can obtain something he insists is valuable, but then he has to find a way to get rid of it. 815. Feeling persecuted is very valuable to those who want to remain in the darkness of egotism. 816. Because their natures are so utterly different, an eagle never consents to talking with a parrot. 817. The chief trouble with the parrot is his arrogant insistence that he is an eagle. 818. Refusal to face the unpleasant facts about human nature is a form of self-betrayal. 819. Only a defeated person is ready for rescue, but unfortunately, many people like to claim defeat without meaning it. 820. Healing fails to occur simply because it is much easier to injure others than to heal oneself. A strange fact. 821. How strange that people pretend to know themselves when it is possible to really know. 822. Truly intelligent behavior cannot be explained to, nor understood by, the unintelligent. 823. You can recognize a false teaching by the way it permits its followers to talk like angels while behaving like demons. 824. Darkness plays it safe by never venturing close to a light which would expose it as darkness. 825. Everyone thinks he is different, but the truly different person is one not living in unconscious conceit. 826. One evil becomes the victim of another evil because both evils masquerade as the good. 827. People living in imaginary goodness never see the great danger they are to themselves. 828. When your inner being dwells above the hostile forces in the world, the hostile forces do not exist for you. 829. Unreceptive humans cannot hear the message of cosmic health any more than a fish can hear music. 830. Ponder deeply the fact that a spiritually ignorant man does not know that he does not know. 831. Falsehood and vanity are uncomfortable at a meeting where truth is really taught. 832. Do you think a person who has really found God, truth, reality, would have concealed contempt for other people? 833. Being a danger to oneself and a danger to others are the real danger. 834. People in danger from themselves reveal it when angrily hearing of the good fortune of enemies. 835. Anyone can conceal anger, but the spiritual hero is one who ends its cause, which is unconscious egotism. 836. Love of truth and involvement with religious activities are two totally different things. 837. Every action arising from darkness which calls itself light can only deepen the darkness. 838. We carelessly talked ourselves into the jungle, but can now wisely plan our way out of it. 839. By seeing that a problem exists only in misunderstanding, we wisely refrain from causing a problem. 840. People think they are acting from love and service when they are really acting from guilt and showmanship. The entire explanation. 841. Self-deceived men deceive other self-deceived men, and that explains entirely the dreadful human condition. 842. Nothing of true value is won when it is won through the pressures of human organization. 843. Neurosis has 1,000 lying explanations, but never really knows why it does anything. 844. What is seen as right and normal by society is seen as immature distortion by a free mind. 845. Stubborn man insists that the shadow is sunshine, then complains at the lack of warmth. 846. A hardened man could hear the greatest teacher of the ages and walk away still hardened. 847. Your right nature has total power over every wrong man or woman on earth. 848. Human evil is a result of psychic hypnosis, which cosmic consciousness can cure. 849. A false teacher is the uncomfortable and resentful slave of those he teaches. 850. Humanity is like someone who sends complimentary letters to himself, pretending they are real. 851. The individual can be artificial in public, or he can be real in private, but he cannot be both. 852. Heaven sighs when human beings make a list of moral standards they intend to follow. 853. Wrongness is incapable of recognizing rightness because it wrongly calls itself right. 854. The perfect way to never see that one is his own great enemy is to constantly accuse others. 855. An awakened man knows what will happen to an unawakened man, but also knows the unpopularity of his vital message. 856. One sign of an immature mind is the ease and frequency with which it feels offended. 857. It is easy for public performers to feel sorry for the world with other people's money. 858. Is anything more foolish than to refuse the light and then complain about falling down in the dark? 859. Falsehood believes it is talking with truth when it is only muttering to itself. 860. What is praised as sticking to one's principles is usually only a stubborn refusal to learn something new. Sheep and wolf. 861. A sheep invites a wolf into the meadow because the sheep stupidly believes the wolf's smile is real. 862. Man's incredible contradiction is his wish to change himself without changing himself. 863. The less a man governs himself, the more he feels qualified to govern others. 864. A person who enjoys his conflicts will not be interested in the explanation for ending them. 865. A petty mind finds it easy to deceive other petty minds, after which it returns to its own misery. 866. The world is not ruled by human beings or by laws, but by outer appearances. 867. A person who departs from a real teacher never realizes the damage he has done to himself. 868. Egotism is fearfully alert in detecting danger to itself and flees at the first appearance of decency. 869. Anyone who cannot be told what he actually is cannot be told what he can actually become. 870. The person who pays the price for self-deception is the person who practices self-deception. 871. The vibration of vanity is taken as happiness by those lost in unhappiness. 872. Destructive vanity can be ended by doing precisely what vanity does not want us to do. For example, by admitting a present lack of comprehension of life. 873. A surface admission of confusion about life is not enough. for that can be vanity's trick to avoid facing a deep confusion. 874. Ignorance is simply a lack of knowledge, while stupidity is a refusal to collect needed knowledge. 875. Do not believe it when neurotic indignation tries to pass itself off as righteousness. 876. One tragedy of being inwardly asleep is that an awakened man does not exist to our perception, therefore his aid is ignored. 877. Negative thinking causes self-agitation, but cosmic consciousness supplies self-contentment. 878. A conditioned mind can teach right living about as much as a small child can teach astronomy. 879. Insincere seeking finds what it wants to find, while sincere seeking finds what jolts but cures. 880. False teachings strive to appear mysterious, for they really know that most people prefer mysteries to solutions. Give no false rewards. 881. Stop giving bothersome people false rewards, and they will stop bothering you. 882. It is wrong to reward weak people out of a sense of guilt, for that only encourages their weakness. 883. You find people unattractive because you sense that their displayed strength is artificial. 884. In spite of an exterior show of confidence, anyone with an artificial light always fears it will fail, spilling them into the pit. 885. The real solution to social problems cannot be explained to anyone who does not want to hear himself explained. 886. It is wrong for you to enter into a human relationship on the demanding terms of another person. 887. When habitual thought supplies an answer to a problem, that answer becomes the next problem. 888. You are truly loved by someone who does not accept your wrong behavior as right, and that is very rare. 889. Never accept the confused or unpleasant behavior of other people as your problem, for it is theirs alone. 890. Ignorance is unable to see danger because it flatters itself with the label of intelligence. 891. Is the truly intelligent person the one who fights the truth, or the one who uses it? 892. Human sickness is so severe that few can bear to look at it, but those who do will become well. 893. A neurotic fish looked up at a soaring bird and sighed, "Poor creature who does not know the fun of muddy water." 894. It is useless and wrong to try to help people who want your attention, but not your help. 895. Right answers can be found only in a right source, and human creeds are not that source. 896. Just as you examine a purchase for its quality, examine ideas offered you for value to your real nature. 897. Truth does not exist to be organized and interpreted by man, but to save him. 898. It rarely occurs to people that they can solve the problem by solving themselves. 899. The human jungle is not dangerous to those whose insight has carried them out of it. 900. The whole secret for escaping the human jungle is to work inwardly, rightly, persistently. Chapter 10. Let your mind work with full power. In a science class, the young pupils took turns at finding distant objects through a telescope. One boy peered and remarked, "But I can't see my home." The teacher handed him a larger telescope with the comment, "You need a superior viewpoint." And so do we. It is the cosmic viewpoint which sees life wholly and understands it thoroughly. That peaceful viewpoint is obtainable. No one would dream of neglecting the natural powers of the sun, of rivers and winds, of seeds and gravity. Yet how few people ever really reflect upon the natural powers of the mind, powers which can be individually acquired, controlled, and used for superior daily actions. Why this neglect? Well, many men and women believe the human mind is much too mysterious to enter and explore. Not at all. It is a happy fact that the mind can learn to understand the mind. It can be compared with entering a castle, one room at a time, observing and comprehending how each room contributes its part to the orderly function of the castle as a whole. Take the power of habit. We know how some habits work against us, as when frequently falling into worry. But habit can also be a positive force, as when we faithfully study the mind. As you now study other specific mental powers, remember the declaration of Ralph Waldo Emerson: "Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind." Let your mind work with full power. 901. To state it as simply as possible, you can use your mind in a totally different way, a way having no strife or regret, a way as natural as the flow of a peaceful river. 902. Let your personal mind go right, and your personal world goes right effortlessly. 903. Never let the mind of any other person tell you that it is superior to your mind. 904. Deliberately slow down your inner world of thoughts and feelings, then be ready for some astonishing discoveries. 905. Realize that old mental habits can only repeat the same unhappy results, for that awakens fresh power for self-newness. 906. Remind yourself constantly that the false wisdom of society can only make everything worse. 907. Turn away from society's artificial wisdom to the real intelligence of your recovered essence. 908. The mind can be a wall or an open gate before reality, depending upon which one we make it. 909. A sudden situation may require your thought, but it never requires your distress. 910. What your ordinary mind cannot understand can be grasped fully by your developing higher mind. 911. What you can become is far greater than you think, so with delight, rise above habitual thinking. 912. The only way to feel in a new and superior way is to let the cosmic college teach you to think in a new way. 913. It is harmful error to assume we understand something simply because it agrees with what we already believe. 914. Wanting rescuing ideas while clinging to personal beliefs is like trying to add new items to a packed closet. 915. It is valuable to see how negative thoughts cause negative actions, which cause negative feelings. 916. We are under the harmful power of any wrong idea we refuse to see as wrong. 917. We are under the healthy power of any right idea we admit to replace a wrong idea. 918. Learn to think in short and clear sentences which summarize good and guiding ideas. 919. An example of a clear sentence is, "Nothing is more essential than to discover the truth about life for myself." 920. Deliberately interrupt your thoughts during the day to ponder an idea of special interest to you. The power of real intelligence. 921. Real intelligence, cosmic intelligence, quietly knows itself, having no compulsion to promote or protect itself. 922. What a beautiful freedom in not having to strain at proving how intelligent we are. 923. Consider wrong thoughts as unnecessary distractions to pleasant days. 924. One sign of immature minds is their incapacity to learn the lessons in personal or historical disasters. 925. It is possible to sense the existence of higher ways, which supplies incentive for obtainment. 926. How strange that a person will carefully attend to his home or his finances, yet will completely neglect the development of his own mind. 927. Real happiness is the natural result of having a cosmically mature mind. 928. Contacting pure truth and contacting our personal ideas about truth are two different and opposite actions. 929. A personal idea about truth is not truth itself any more than an idea about a mountain is an actual mountain. 930. The alternative to human wretchedness is found by abandoning habitual thinking. 931. Habitual thinking is ended by ceasing to promote and protect the illusion of having a separate self. 932. We do not wish other people to interfere with us, so why permit harmful thoughts to interfere? 933. A man who merely thinks that he thinks for himself must pay the high price for his error. 934. A truly mature mind can neither be hurt nor flattered, for its very maturity is its independent stability. 935. Cosmic clarity is as different from ordinary thought as the sea is different from the desert. 936. Many claim to have gone beyond their usual thinking channels, but only the free have done so. 937. Deliberately break away from the vagabond thoughts which try to lead you into dark places. 938. We must simply see that the present way we think is not the only way to think. 939. One sign of mental maturity is to comprehend the power and delight of simplicity. 940. The fuel of wrong action is wrong thinking, while the fuel of right action is cosmic consciousness. What you can do for yourself. 941. Attend to what you can do for yourself, not on what you think others can do against you. 942. A good reason for removing errors of thinking is that we will cease to suffer from them. 943. Foolish minds hope to benefit exterior personality, while wise minds wish to enrich inner essence. 944. The deeper part of your mind, which appears with your invitation, wants something unlike the surface part. 945. How rarely it occurs to anyone to use his mind in a new way to make his life a better life. 946. Something higher than the ordinary mind can teach it to function correctly, and that higher power is God, truth, reality. 947. Lack of psychic sunshine indicates we have not really opened the mental window. 948. A mind eager for inner discovery may be temporarily baffled, but will never be disappointed. 949. Inquire whether your thinking is true, healthy, necessary, sincere, pleasant. 950. Anyone complaining he was led astray by others is admitting he has no mind of his own. 951. A man who would eat unhealthy foods not only consumes, but welcomes unhealthy thoughts. 952. A mind living in a prison of its own making has the ability to become its own key to liberty. 953. One day you will see delightfully that you are no longer thinking in your usual ways. 954. Most people with confused minds can neither see nor admit it, which is why their self-haunting continues. 955. A sleeping man lives on the intellectual level only, while an awakened man lives above it. 956. Cosmic comprehension and intellectual cleverness are as far apart as head and heel. 957. Useless and tiring thinking falls away as you advance with these teachings. 958. Like replacing a wrong book with the right one, learn to read your real self, not adopted ideas. 959. Open the door to your real nature by learning what it means to drop mechanical thoughts. 960. The difference between right and wrong is known only by cosmic consciousness, not by the ordinary mind. A flash of insight. 961. One flash of cosmic insight can solve 1,000 problems caused by the habitual mind. 962. If you wonder why your life is what it is, notice how your mind works. 963. Remember that a really new life must be created with new thoughts, so see what it means to think freshly. 964. Problems are not solved by fighting them, but by lifting the mind above the level of combat. 965. Can truth penetrate a mind which unconsciously twists it to fit its own self-centered beliefs? 966. Repeated thoughts create the illusion of a troubled self, so replace wrong thoughts with perception. 967. A cosmic castle cannot be built with dark thoughts any more than a home can be built with shadows. 968. Think about inner conflict, then think how quietness would make everything different. 969. You can have something different if persistently willing to think something different. 970. How astonishing that people believe that a confused mind can create clear conditions. 971. It is possible to hear something quite different by ceasing to love the noise of our own minds. 972. Never fear to see what you are really thinking, for that leads to self-liberation. 973. In spite of all appearances, we are chained only by our own lack of clear comprehension. 974. You are using these principles in order to think about yourself in a new way. 975. As a healthy mental exercise, simply ponder what it means to think in a totally new way. 976. Let ordinary thinking come to an end, and extraordinary thinking will begin. 977. Answers from the conditioned mind will always be wrong, though appearing right, while answers from purified essence will always be right, though at first appearing wrong. 978. A new mind is possible to attain, providing you are quite dissatisfied with your old mind. 979. If you hesitate to empty your mind of its present contents, just detect the harm in its contents. 980. Just as a mountaineer sees the world differently than a farmer, so does a higher mind have a unique view of humanity. Let your mind serve you. 981. Insight into your mind changes thoughts from noisy dictators into quiet servants. 982. Notice how tension and anger arise in an exposed person, which proves that hidden thoughts cause pain. 983. Hidden thoughts and wrong thoughts are handled intelligently and cured only by awareness of them. 984. The more intelligent the mind, the more it deliberately questions its present positions. 985. See that your mental picture of yourself is not your real self, and troubles fall away. 986. The intelligent reaction toward trouble is to ask, how can I think clearly toward this? 987. To think clearly is to think without references to the past, without false ideas about ourselves. 988. This is a science of freedom in which you learn to not go along with enslaving thoughts and emotions. 989. The rescuing facts are not what we assume they are, which is why they can succeed where our assumptions cannot. 990. Just let the thought occur to you that there is another way to live, for that is a true and a powerful thought. 991. Profitable effort consists of a patient attempt to make a small idea clear to your mind. 992. Remember that a thought about yourself is a thought only, not the true and whole you. 993. Society wants to take over your mind, and can you think of anything more disastrous? 994. We must proceed from ordinary thought to cosmic insight, for merely thinking about the celestial city does not place us in it any more than thinking about a star places us on it. 995. The mind rightly turns to both inward and outward things, but you are made new by the inward look. 996. Wrong conditions are corrected by having right attitudes toward them. 997. Higher truths have great power to dissolve mental mists, making your life clear to you. 998. When the mind is truly quiet, its statements and answers are truly accurate. 999. Ordinary thought cannot solve personal or social problems because it is the very cause of those problems. 1000. There is a completely new way to travel through life, and you are now on that wondrous way.